How's it going, Knight fans? Welcome once again to Holding Court with Todd Dagenais. Along with the coach, I'm Jeff Sharon. UCF coming off of a big split this past weekend as they faced off against the Gulf Coast schools. Fell in 5 to Tulane on Friday night, but then came back with a big sweep win over Southern Miss. And coach, as we start off looking at that Tulane match, Tulane always presents a number of challenges, no matter who they play. You guys fight hard, come up short in 5. What do you think was the difference? I remember the last time you guys played, and you thought that the numbers lied the first time when you played them up in New Orleans. Did that happen again this time around?
Yeah, I think there's no doubt. I think when we played them back in New Orleans, I think in every category they beat us up, but somehow the most important category, the scoreboard, was the one that we were ahead on. And I think in this situation, I don't know if we beat them up, but statistically I thought we were ahead of them. And, we just... as we found ways to win when we were there, they found ways to score the points when they were here. And, I give them a lot of credit for that because they never gave up the whole match. And I think their coach even commented they just hung in there long enough to win it. And it was just one of those things. We're up 13-11 in the fifth, and, we just, a couple real inexperienced errors, and all of a sudden we look at the scoreboard and they have 15, and that's just the way it is.
It was tough because it seemed like, maybe did your players maybe seem that, or maybe think that you didn't lose that match, but you just ran out of time, like you said?
Maybe. I don't know. That's hard for me to say that. I mean, we were up, we were in control, and we made a couple not so good plays, and they made a couple fantastic plays. I remember Nicole at 13-12 went up and just smoked a quick set in the middle, and they just somehow kept it off the floor. I mean, we go to 14 at any point there, and I feel like it's probably over. So, no, I got to give them credit. They made the plays at the end, and they deserved to win it.
So in the end, it evens out for the season series between UCF and Tulane. Some poetic justice in there, do you think, a little bit?
Well, sure, and I'll take a split. This year against that team, I'll take a split. Would have loved to have the sweep, especially, you beat them at their place. You want to hold court at your place. But we'll take a split against them because that's a team that we haven't had any success against in the past. And so, hopefully that breaks the ice and sets us up for some future success.
Well, it could have been tough coming off of that match. Like you said, tough heartbreak. You lose in 5 to Tulane. 2 days later, no rest for the weary. You guys come out against Southern Miss. But the team comes out and plays tremendous volleyball in that match against the Golden Eagles. You guys win in 3. And it seems like we've talked plenty of times this season about how sometimes, like we said, the numbers lie. Well, they didn't lie in this one. You guys had 50 kills total for the whole match. You hit better than 360 for the match. How key was it to come back after that tough Tulane match and really lay the smackdown on Southern Miss?
I think, for us, it felt good. That is easily our best match of the season, and quite likely one of the best matches that we've had in 3 years. It was just, we were very comfortable with the matchups that we had. We prepared for that match really by watching the last time we played them, not really anything else, because we felt like we had some good matchups last time. We just made too many errors to win it, and we didn't make the errors this time. We were real low error, and I think that probably posed a lot of problems for them. And lots of blocks, great defense, and we were able to transition and score points with very few errors.
It's a key match in particular when you look at the conference standings. They came in 4th place in the league, and they were on an 8-match win streak, which they started against UCF in Hattiesburg, but you guys end that streak. How much confidence does that give the team now going forward as you face another tough weekend coming up?
I think it validates what we thought. We've always thought that we were a top of the conference type team, and to go in there and convincingly collect a win against one of the top 4 teams is something that's pretty important for us, and it gives us some confidence going forward as we face 2 more of the top 4 teams in the conference.
And speaking of those 2 top teams coming up in the conference schedule, these 2 matches are at home. Note the time change, folks. Friday night, UCF faces Tulsa, the #1 team in Conference USA, number 25 in the country. Huge match for UCF volleyball. Following that up, Sunday against SMU, 1 p.m. We've talked about this before, Coach, when you went on the road to face those 2 teams. Now you get them at home on the back end of it. The SMU one was tough the last time around. Tulsa was pretty good the last time you saw them, too. But what do you want to see get done in these 2 matches? It's a very, very key challenge for your team at this juncture in the season, isn't it?
Well, sure. This is going to be the first time we faced a top 25 team at home since we played Stanford that very first year. So this is going to be kind of special for us to have a top 25 and a legit top 25 team come in here. And, there's still a real sour taste in our mouth about what happened when we were there. They beat us up pretty good. And I think that we did plenty to contribute to that beating, too. And so hopefully I think we're over that. I think hopefully playing at home kind of lessen some of the anxiety of facing such a high-level team. Hopefully the weekend and the confidence that we built up over the weekend and the hitting percentage contribute to playing a little bit better against them. But, I think the recipe is there to beat a team like that. But you still have to go out and you have to put the ingredients together.
It's going to be a big match on Friday against Tulsa. Make sure that you get out of work early to get down to the venue to see this one, because it's going to be a lot of fun for UCF. As we take a look at some of the things that have happened off the court this season, we got some good news earlier this week with Tori McCutcheon, as she was named to the, let me see if I get this right, the ESPN All-Academic District 3 for volleyball. In District 3, ESPN divides the country into districts. It's kind of weird they don't do the whole conference thing. We have people in Conference USA in like 4 different districts. But anyway, she gets this award, all academic. We know how good of a student Tori is. We know how good of students all of your players are. How difficult is it, especially with this young group? Tori is a true sophomore. You have a bunch of them on the team. How proud are you of the fact that they've been able to adjust so quickly to the academic and athletic rigors of being a volleyball player in Division I?
Well, sure, very proud, because whether we all like it or not, volleyball is a temporary thing. This is not football or basketball or baseball or something like that. Like the commercial says, these women are going to be professional in something other than volleyball someday. And for Tori to go out there and nearly have a 4.0 and a brutal major medicine, and she's doing such a great job on and off the court. And you don't get this just by having a high grade point average. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of athletes that have 4.0s. But it's a combination of what you do in the classroom and what you do on the court. And I'm really excited that ESPN recognizes the contributions that she not only has towards the university but towards our volleyball program. So it's nice of her to be recognized, and it's the first step, and hopefully in the future where she gets recognized first team and then has an opportunity to go up and be our next academic All-American.
Tell me about who some of the unsung heroes are for UCF volleyball when it comes to making sure that your players are on track academically. There's a great academic support staff here at UCF, and quite often those people don't get the credit, I think, sometimes that they deserve for keeping not just volleyball but all the sports on track too.
Sure. I think it starts with our mentors. The mentors are the ones that really interact day to day with our athletes. Then that goes through our academic coordinator, Jennifer Alger, who's just done a fantastic job of helping to really oversee these gains that we've made in the classroom. Where now our team is nearly at a 3.7 for a semester GPA. And then from there it goes right up to Mark Gumble, who's the director of the the Academic Services Center, and then Jessica Rio, who's our sports supervisor and also oversees the academic groups over there. So there's a lot of people that go into this, and really I hope that they're proud because they have a huge part of this. And the other thing too is our very own producer who's behind the camera, Sarah, is the one that puts together these nominations and words them correctly so people understand all the things that our athletes are accomplishing. And she's the one that ultimately gets the information to the people that make the decisions. So I think she's part of that as well.
I didn't realize 3.7 team GPA. It's one thing, obviously when I was a student, it's one thing to keep your own GPA, but when you have to coordinate 15, 20 people and academically they're able to come through and average a 3.7 GPA. That's incredibly difficult, especially given the schedules that they have. I don't think people really realize how hard that is to get a number that high as a team GPA.
Right. Well, they have to get into a routine. I mean, their days are very regimented, and people look at athletes and think it's the glory, and it's not. Their days are extremely regimented. They have this amount of time to do this and this amount of time to do that, and that's it. They don't get anything else other than that. And we try to make sure that they have some fun here and there, but the student-athlete's life, for a high-achieving student-athlete, is very regimented, and it's pretty mundane and boring because that's the only way you get the volume of things done that you need to get done on a day-to-day basis.
Well, a special congratulations to Tori for that achievement, and congratulations to all of UCF's volleyball players for doing a fantastic job in the classroom so far this year. We hope they keep it up as usual. Now, let's take a look at the national picture here in the NCAA volleyball picture. 5 teams this week, Coach, receiving first place votes. Florida remains number 1, followed by Stanford, Hawaii, California, and Nebraska. And it's a logjam up the top of the national standings right now. And we were talking about this before we went on. We really don't know who is going to be the big dog when this all shakes out. This is going to be a very, very interesting last month to the season.
Right. There's very few head-to-head amongst those groups. There's a little bit early in the year, but really you can throw out the early matches because that just doesn't tell you anything. Teams mature and grow and develop. I mean, just look at what we've done over the course of the year, how much we've changed, and other teams do the same thing. So there's just not enough crossover with the exception of the Pac-10 teams that are in the top 6 or 7 that all play each other. Florida's in their conference, Nebraska's in their conference, Hawaii's in their conference, and then the rest of the groups are in the Pac-10 or Big Ten. So there's just not enough crossover for us to really know who's who yet. And, people say who's number 1. Well, any one of 8 teams could be number 1 on any given day. There's not a lot of years that you can really say on any given day one of 8 teams could be the best. And I think it's very feasible this year that the regional finals are going to be interesting. You may not see the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds make it through to the Final Four like you have practically every other year since Tennessee and Santa Clara broke through into the Final Four as lower seeds. You could see a lower seeded team actually make it to the Final Four this year just because I think the parity is so even. And I honestly don't think there is one dominant team this year. I think there's some really good teams, but there's not that one team like a Penn State for the last 3 years, or the USCs before that, or there's Stanford's in there. There's nobody like that right now. I just think there's a bunch of really good teams, but I don't know if I can pick a national champion out of that group.
Like we mentioned before, all you got to do is look at 6 through 10. You have Southern Cal, who actually defeated California twice at number 6. Texas is at 7. They've had a rough season by their standards so far. Penn State, in the last couple weeks, has lost more matches than I think they have since the 1960s, it seems like. Illinois, they got shellacked by Northwestern, and then you have UCLA rounding out the top 10. But it's entirely conceivable that we could see any one of those teams in the Final Four, don't you think?
Sure. Who gets hot? Who's healthy? There's so many things that go into the NCAA tournament run. Really, if it's not about talent, where you have 1 or 2 dominant teams, then it's strictly about luck. And that's what you're going to see here. You're going to see things happen based on just luck. Who matches up against who on the right night at the right time? Who has that serve that hits the net and rolls over for match point? It's just going to come down to some really crazy things because there's so many teams that are within a whisker of each other.
You always keep going back to that losing a match point on a ball that hits the net and rolls over. Can you go back and tell that story real quick so that everyone knows what we're talking about?
Yeah, no, there was just a time where I was at Michigan State, and the big matches sometimes are won and lost on some of the craziest things, and that's what happened.
Wow. Okay, I won't breach that any further with you. All right, so as we look ahead, once again, don't forget, folks, Friday against Tulsa, UCF taking on number 25 Tulsa in the venue, 5 p.m. Note the early start time has changed. It was a little bit later, but we pushed it up to 5 p.m. UCF facing their first top 25 opponent in the venue since this man's first year here when we took on Stanford. Follow that up on Sunday with SMU. These are the top 2 teams in the conference coming into our house to play. So it's going to be a very, very big weekend for Coach Dagenais and the volleyball team. Make sure you come on out and check out also what else is going on around campus as well, because we're going to have basketball starting up. But now, when basketball starts up, we know that volleyball is starting to get to the real meat and potatoes, and this is an exciting time of year for you.
Oh, this is the best time of year. And as we get into the future, this is going to be the make or break time. This is really where we, in the coming years, we want to be vying for an NCAA tournament bid or vying for a conference championship as we hit these last 3 weeks. So this is really good practice for us to be organized and be focused on the last 3 weeks and finishing strong.
Should be a fun weekend. Best of luck, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, so don't forget, make sure you follow UCF Volleyball on Twitter. UCF_volleyball is the Twitter handle. Also visit the Knights on Facebook, facebook.com/UCF Volleyball, and follow all of UCF Volleyball news and results live on UCFathletics.com. For the coach, Todd Dagenais, I'm Jeff Sharon. This has been Holding Court. We'll catch you again next week.